I am not here to debate with anyone. I have devoted all of my adult life to this subject. I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.
Let me go ahead and say this straight up. Now, I had to take a detour from current events, and I lost a lot of ground based upon what happened yet yesterday and over the Rude Imp thing. But Charcoal Kitty issue. Uh, let me say this right now. Right, let me go ahead and say this right now. There is a reason why um you are single, and I'm talking to the men here. All right, I'm talking to the men, and what I said the other day is you got people who are broken, okay, and and it's not always your fault. It's not always your fault. I mean, yes, there are men who are single and they are to blame for their own self-inflicting wounds, right? And excuse me if I have I have a allergy problems because it's fall time and such. So it's not always, but the thing is, the thing I want to say is it's not, you know, sometimes it's self-inflicted, sometimes it is not. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. I forgot to turn this on. Yeah, got to turn that on. But anyway, I'm here. But it's not always a man's fault, and sometimes it is. But I'm gonna talk about the parts where it is not his fault. Now, what occurred these past couple days, and demonstrate why it is not his fault. There are certain women who are not um, approachable. There are women over here on in there are women who are uh you shouldn't even approach. They might look a certain way, since some of y'all give looks too much. Some of y'all some of y'all will look at a woman's appearance and y'all think and y'all only judging by that, right? But yet y'all not judging by what's coming out of her mouth, right? The things that come out of her mouth, the things that make sense, right? You're too busy looking at the smile and looking at you know the winks and nods that she's giving to you and you're receiving. You know, looks don't let looks be um yeah, but anyway, the point is it doesn't matter how much a woman looks, how good she looks, and how you know there's a veneer of double-mindedness and this double-minded attitude, this double-minded behavior is very off-putting. So if you are single, in this case, do not feel bad. Okay. And the reason why there's so much double-mindedness is because there's no order. Now, it's shocking that I'm saying it, right? There's no order. That person that you're trying to seek attention from, she does not understand what she was not brought up understanding what respect is. A lot of people are so broken that they don't understand what respect is. They don't know what love is. They don't know what companionship is. They live in a sense of they live in a sense of delusion. They allow what they allow reality TV shows, and they allow what they see on certain television programming to dictate what is reality when it does not fit in reality itself. And yes, I did say reality TV shows, but reality TV shows does not is not quote unquote reality. It's scripted, halfway scripted. So yes, and because of the brokenness, right? A lot of these women that who are broken themselves needs broken men. A man who is stable are deemed to be stable. She will not date a stable man because a stable man can be controlled. A man who is stable can be controlled. So if a man does not have a criminal record, if a man does not have a some type of um you know uh, mental issues, if some men who doesn't have a jail record, or problems with authority, or problems with now, I'm gonna take that problems with authority, that's put that to the side. But problems on social norms, I'll put it like that. People who are outside of the social norms, nores, she would gravitate because those type of men you can control. Men like thugs, hoodlums, thieves, she gravitate to them, to men like this, because she know how to break him down. And I'm not talking about in a physical state. I'm speaking as from a mental standpoint. She can break him down mentally. And because she knows there are cracks in his uh that there's cracks within his manhood, she can fill in those cracks with her manipulation. See, I used to read a book called The Manipulated Man. And if you've been in this space as long as I have, if you read that book like I have, you will understand what's going on. In the book by Esther Vilar, the manipulated man, and it's one of the, you really have to be deep in thought. You have to be very deep in thought, and you know, I use that book in many of my debates with the infamous Cynthia G. Right, I use that book against her because I see how her mind works. See, everybody around here, they don't read. They don't study their opponent, right? They don't study their opponent. So with that, right? With that, they don't know how to deal with. Some men are rubbing their heads together and trying to, um, they're puzzled on the MO, right? They're puzzled, like why she's acting a certain way, why she's going for this type of guy than a guy who is deemed stable. But anyway, like again about the whole Cynthia G thing, right? There is a reason why a Cynthia G or RWS would go for a Robert Perkins, right? There's the reason why, because they're broken too. Because she can't, because neither of these individuals cannot get next to an investor banker, a lawyer, a doctor, some of your congressmen, your dentists, men who are uh what 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 you would deem pillars of society, and they're not going to be in pillars of society because because he got something to lose. That man has something to lose, so he's not going to uh, bend the way she want him to bend because he got something to lose, and because of that, she can't control him. Okay, she cannot control this man. She can't control this doctor, this lawyer. She can't not control this dentist or investor banker because he got something to lose. You know, and I'm gonna say this to some of the men here: do not get frustrated. I'm talking to the men who are legitimately frustrated. I'm not talking to these red pill idiots. I'm talking to the men who are legitimately are um, confused. Do not get confused. Do not get angry. It's easy to get angry. The best way to deal with this, right, in my humble opinion, the best way to deal with this is start being indifferent. Start being um start putting some people in arm's length at best. If not, if and that's when you cannot cut them off entirely. Put them in arm's length at least. That's what I think those, that people should do, right? Or men should do, particularly when it comes to broken women. And I know that some men want a family. I know men trying to pass down their lineage by by trying to get a woman and marrying women and so forth for trying to create a family. But that is understandable. Some of us have relinquished that that dream. Some of us have given up on that, relinquish, surrender um, that part of life, that aspect. That's part of the reason why we have a birth rate decline. We have a birth rate that is declining. That's part of it. Part of it is like my old adage that this is an economic problem, and this is something that people in this space don't they don't want to talk about it because they lazy. They're lazy thinkers in that aspect. And plus, though, and then we talk about this space, right? The space that I am in, the space that I think those should be destroyed. You got these women who get up in these panels, these channels, and all they do is being fed a steady diet, a steady diet of men ain't shit, men this and men that, the negative aspects of men, so they feed themselves with this, with the steady diet to a point where instead of leaving it on a YouTube panel, instead of leaving it on a computer screen or digital device, they take their fear, um, or the host's fear about men, and they project that onto anybody else offline. That's why I said, though, when it comes to the manosphere itself, right, and also to the BWE, the Black Women Empowerment. That's why I said, though, these people are a hate group. The manosphere and BWE are hate groups, and you know doing this social no, scratch that, doing this trauma bonding, not social bonding, trauma bonding. And all this trauma bonding and shame, blame, and explain, all it does is reinforce fear. And that's what happened on Taylor's channel yesterday when a woman chasing after Rude. Mind you, Rude is deemed to be a broken man based on his history, based on his childhood, all of that. And that's why I was on the panel, because both sides just need to grow up. He needs to grow up because uh you're 40 and you can't just act like things are just going to be the same as you are in your 20s. She needs to grow up on her end, because being on the Bomb Cherries, being on the RWS channels, being on these Cynthia G channels, these female quote unquote led channels, and it's absorbing this this female victimhood narrative over and over again, it's bad for one's health. And that's really is the the crux of the matter. Everybody is being fed into this steady diet of foolishness, and it's not doing anybody any good. And let me say this to some men. Some of y'all just need to embrace the idea, or to accept the idea of being single. Okay. Now, if you are, and this is my problem with the black community, right? The black community does not have anything for single men. And when I say single men, I'm talking about men over the age of 30, right? Because if you're going anywhere else, uh, es- uh, especially those, in Roman Catholic society, Black America, who's mostly Protestant, we get to shame single men for being a loser in life, or he's homosexual, or he's a potential danger to the children in some way, whether that's sexual or otherwise, or that he's careless with his money, that he is not capable of, you know, sustaining himself. He's unstable. And a lot of that ain't true. But because there are a lot of single men in America and Western society, is not necessarily his fault. But back to my original argument, and I'm getting sleepy and tired because I just got to put this out here. See, the black society needs to change so that single men can be accepted. Because a single man without kids is just as viable to society as those who are. But because a lot of us are not Catholic, there are options. And see, if you go to the Roman Catholic or even Anglican society, those who are the leftover men have a place. Leftover men have a place, right? They're sent out to do Christian missionary work. They're sent out to do fellowship with other men and building conclaves and building temples and churches and tabernacles. Okay. And at least there's some type of a brotherly bond within the confines of the church. And that's part of the reason why there is a feminization of the black church, because the black church itself is too much heavy on child sharing. I mean, no, I'm sorry, child blaming and marriage blaming of young men, while keeping black women, the women in said community, single, rather than using the lessons of Paul. This is my This my issues I have with the black church, and you know, and their dislike of single men. Okay, the hypocrisy of the black church when it concern itself with single men, it looks down on single men. It looks down on single men while forgetting who Paul was, Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul was somebody who never was married. Used to go by the name of Saul, right? Used to go by the name of Saul, and what do he do? He sacrificed his time to make sure that the seven churches, he write letters to a lot of the churches on how to conduct rules and policies and advice. He used his time for that before he was beheaded. So was Peter. So was Stephen. You see, if Stephen, Peter, and Paul was alive in the 21st century, the black community would shun them for being single. Black society would shun them. American society would shun them for being single. Oh, you are an incel. That's what they would cast them as. A bunch of incel men. Mischaracterizing them as incels or true force loneliness or MGTOW, right? But these men had a higher mission and a higher meaning within the world, and you know that's one good quality I think about the Catholic Church is and I'm not Catholic, so I'm not Catholic, but uh, nor I wish to be, but I got to respect. I gotta respect though that at least they would open their doors to single men, childless men, and and offer a place for them to be at. You know, because not everybody's going to have children. Not everybody's going to get married. Not everybody's going to have that. That that lifestyle. Um, that the Protestant way of life is trying to push onto everybody. This ideal of the nuclear family construct that people, and let me talk about the nuclear family. The nuclear family is a new concept. The nuclear family has been old as reconstruction. Yes, yes. Re the nuclear family is a byproduct of the um, industrial revolution. It's been a product of that, right? It's been a product of that. So, um, and the reason why it's a product of the industrial revolution because families used to live. There's been multi-generational land, right? A lot of the land of the frontier is multi-generational. Somebody's great grandpa, grandparents built, create, had the land, and over the course of years, you got 4 or 5 generations living in the same location. And because there's no more of that, right? Because of the industrial revolution, because like we became at large an agricultural based society, a rural agricultural based society to a urban mechanical society, and now informational society. We get we move around. So therefore a man and woman does not live no, they live in single family homes, and they are away from their ancestral home. That's where the nuclear family came from. The 1880s, the Gilded Age. I put it, better point, the latter point of the Victorian Gilded Age era. You know, that's if y'all really want to know about the origins of um that's if you want to know about the origins of the nuclear family. And we got to understand that the nuclear family construct is not, even though we find it favorable from the lens of the uh Leave It to Beaver, but the nuclear family is not always the best. um it's not always the best. It's not always a realistic option for many people, because of lifestyles and how the human condition change. And plus that men were wholly dependent upon, right? Women and children could depend on that one man to you know, his wealth, that family's wealth is hinged upon his job. And since 1945, you know, technology has changed wildly since then. Since we created the atom, right? We split the atom, not create the atom, but since we split that atom and create massive energy, we replace tons of men shoveling coal. And because we went from shoveling coal to, 100, 200 men on a round the clock, you know, in some mine in Philly, in the Pennsylvania, or somewhere in the coal mining states, like Philadelphia or such. The coal that, hundreds of men are used to shovel out the coal, and now it only takes a handful of men to run a power plant. Only a handful of men to can run that, to create that much energy as 200 men in a coal mine, is what I'm saying. So his income, so the woman and the children are not dependent on that man as much as needed. And I gotta say it, the women evolved, men did not. From 1945 to 2025, men did not evolve, women did. The washing machine, the dishwasher, indoor plumbing, the air conditioner, all these appliances that we have created, that society has created, right, made women no longer attached to the house. Was no welfare program like you hear these red pill idiots and the manosphere of clowns and the MGTOW fools will make you believe. No, no. Our technological advancement within the last 100 years or last 120 years, and especially after 1945, you know, women have more luxury time than just being saddled to that house. And she's adding extra income into that house. And a lot of people don't seem to grasp that concept because some of y'all are lazy in y'all's thinking. Y'all don't do no research, you know. But back to the point, this is the reason why a lot of you men are single, right? Because a lot of us are single because um technology has changed. You're not as dependent upon as if you were back 80, 90 years ago. Okay. You are not. You're not as dependable. You her success. I'll put it in a better way. Her success and her well-being is not hinged upon you. She can get it by herself. I think that a lot of men. I think society needs to understand we're not going back to patriarchy. And just because we're not going back to patriarchy does not mean that we're going to a matriarchy. Society is not going to a matriarchal society. We're going to egalitarian society. All right, we're going to egalitarian society where everything is pretty much, uh, you know, we're at the late stage of patriarchy. America, the Western world is at we're having late stage capitalism as well as late stage patriarchy. And this is what some of y'all's master teachers ain't telling you. So that's what's going on, y'all. And I would tell you the links of books and stuff, but none of y'all gonna read those books. None of y'all gonna understand it. I'm just telling you what it is at this point. You know, and I think with the next 25 years, women will calm down because women got their newly free. They're free, right? Women are free, so you got to give women. As a society, you got to give women 25 more years so they can calm down and with this newfoundly freedom that they have for the past 80 years, and they'll calm down for most part and be more thoughtful uh on how they perceive life, because some of you men trying to shame, blame, and explain these women, that's not an option. Y'all, they know and they don't care, and a lot of y'all are just gonna have to accept um, that you're not going to get the family that you want. You're not going to get you know, the Hollywood storyline of what is a family. You know, so all I'm gonna tell y'all is, do not get get do not let this information discourage you or such. It's just that society has changed and you're gonna have to adapt to it. So anyway, I'm out of here.
I am not here to debate with anyone. I have devoted all of my adult life to this subject. I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.